5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start. In the parliamentary system of governance, the process of passing a bill involves several stages of discussion, scrutiny, and voting. One of the most important aspects of this process is the type of majority required for the bill to be passed in the legislature. The constitution of a country usually lays down the framework within which the legislature operates and defines the different types of majorities necessary for various kinds of bills. The reason for having different types of majorities is to ensure that laws of greater importance or those which affect the fundamental structure of governance receive wider consensus among the members of the legislature. The different types of majorities that are commonly recognized in parliamentary procedure include simple majority, absolute majority, effective majority, and special majority. A simple majority is the most common form of majority used for the passage of ordinary bills in the legislature. Under this type of majority, a bill is considered passed if the number of members voting in its favor exceeds the number of those voting against it. This majority is calculated based on the members who are present and voting at the time of consideration of the bill. It does not take into account the total strength of the House or the number of vacancies. The simple majority is used for the passage of most routine legislation including financial bills and motions such as confidence or no confidence motions. Since it requires only the support of a majority of those who are actually present and casting their vote, it is the easiest majority to obtain and hence is used most frequently in day-to-day legislative business. An absolute majority, on the other hand, is a stricter requirement than a simple majority. It refers to a majority of the total membership of the House, irrespective of how many members are present or voting on a particular day. In other words, to achieve an absolute majority, the bill must receive the support of more than half of the total strength of the House. This type of majority becomes relevant in certain critical decisions like the formation of the government or removal of certain high constitutional functionaries. The requirement of an absolute majority ensures that any such decision has the support of a broad base within the legislature and not merely a narrow group that happens to be present at the time of voting. An effective majority is another form of majority that is calculated by taking into account the total number of currently functioning members of the House, excluding any vacancies. This means that it is based on the total membership of the House minus the number of vacant seats. A bill or motion requires more than 50% of this effective strength in order to be passed. This form of majority is used in specific circumstances such as the removal of the presiding officers of the House. It ensures that the majority is calculated in a way that reflects the actual working strength of the House at that particular time. Thus, it is more representative than a simple majority, but less rigid than an absolute majority. The most stringent form of majority is the special majority, which is required for the passage of certain important bills, especially those that involve changes to the Constitution. A special majority comes in several forms, depending on the context in which it is applied. In general, it may require a 2/3 majority of members present and voting, along with a majority of the total membership of the House. This dual requirement makes it much more difficult to achieve and is intended to ensure that constitutional amendments or similar serious matters receive a high level of support across the political spectrum. The use of special majority reflects the intention to protect the foundational principles of governance and to make changes only when there is a broad consensus among the elected representatives. There are even more complex versions of the special majority in certain cases. For example, in matters related to the federal structure of governance, some amendments may require not only a special majority in both houses of the legislature but also ratification by at least half of the state legislatures. This process is designed to protect the interests of the states and to ensure that any change affecting the division of powers between the central and state governments is not carried out without the consent of the federating units. Such a requirement adds another layer of complexity and ensures the principle of cooperative federalism is maintained. It is important to understand that the type of majority required for the passage of a bill depends on the nature and content of the bill itself. Ordinary bills which do not affect the Constitution or involve the federal structure can be passed by a simple majority. Constitutional amendment bills require a special majority. In some cases, like the impeachment of certain constitutional authorities or the approval of certain emergency provisions, different types of special majorities may be required. The rules governing these majorities are clearly laid out in the Constitution and the rules of procedure of the respective houses of the legislature. Another significant aspect to consider is the quorum required for the conduct of business in the legislature. While majorities are calculated based on voting or membership, a minimum number of members must be present for the proceedings to be valid. This minimum presence, called the quorum, is usually fixed as 1/10 of the total membership of the House. If the quorum is not met, the House cannot proceed with the discussion or voting on any bill. Thus, the quorum acts as a safeguard to ensure that decisions are not taken without adequate representation. The idea behind having different types of majorities is rooted in the principle of democratic decision-making. Laws and decisions that have far-reaching consequences or that touch upon the foundational aspects of governance must not be passed in haste or without sufficient deliberation. Stop.